Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to give a little bit of teaching on the advanced life support. Now, I'm going to be using the protocols from the UK's Resuscitation Council. So that's called Resource UK. Yes, and it's helpful to define this. And so the very first thing I'll be talking about is the problem. Yes. So the very first thing I'll talk about is the problem, and I'll talk about the setting. Yep. Then after the setting, I'm going to talk about something that's important called the rhythm. Then I'm going to talk about survival, or more specifically, the chain of survival. Stay with me. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the algorithm. Good. Now, the very first thing we need to be aware of that the problem of ischemic heart disease is a problematic one, at least from the UK context. If you look at the death from the data from 2018, you would notice that about over maybe about for 3,000 males died from cardiac related disease. And about half of that, 20 over 23,000 females died from that. And that's a disturbing figure. Now, that is, and if you go further to look at the data, you would realize that at least in the UK alone, 500,000 people are affected by heart disease each year in the UK alone. So that gives us a context of the problem. Now, I would like to argue, as someone who's worked in developing and a developed country, that this situation is probably similar in the developing world as well. So, if you really look at the data, you would probably find the same thing. So that looks at this is an important problem. Just imagine for 3,000 people die. That's a lot of people. And if you add that males and females, that gives you over 60,000 people dying each year. Now, when we look at the setting, another thing is worrisome. And so, in terms of the setting, cardiac arrest can happen out of hospital. So, it could be in a home or anywhere else, and it could happen in hospital. So these two are also important, and I'll explain why. Out of hospital, cardiac arrest, which is the cessation of activity of the heart. That could be electrical or mechanical or both. Now, if you look at out of hospital cardiac arrest, what you have is it could be observed by a bystander, which means the bystander could help. And one of the ways the bystander could help is because there's now a campaign that teaches people to try and restart the heart, and it's called the Restart the Heart campaign, and that's been done by the British Heart Foundation. In hospital is a bit more complicated because the people in hospital are in hospital for several other reasons. The reasons both of these is important is survivability varies. Generally, survivability is better for out of hospital cardiac arrest. And therefore, if we can get more people to support people having cardiac arrest, giving them the needed CPR when it's out of hospital, that can go a long way in helping. So let's move to the next concept I'd like to discuss. There's something called the rhythm of the heart. Think about it like dancing. When rhythm, think about it like R&B, rhythm and blues. So there's a pattern to it. So the rhythm could be something that you can call technically shockable and non-shockable. So let's start from here. So shockable rhythms are something I like to teach the students to remember as SVF. So that's ventricular fibrillation. We can go into the details in a different lecture. And something called